Hello, welcome once again to Pale Blooms and Beyond. Thank you for joining us today. Mick Hanly is an Irish singer, songwriter, and guitarist from Limerick. Over his career, he has played and recorded with many notable musicians, including Micheál, and I'm not going to pronounce his last name, so I'll just say Micheál, with whom he formed the duo Munroe. Donal Lunny, founding member of both Planxty and Moving Hearts, the latter in which Mick was a member, touring with Andy Irvine, recording an album with Finbar Furey, and fronting his own band, Rusty Old Halo. All of Mick's compositions, his most famous song, Past the Point of Rescue, has been covered by Mary Black and American country artist Hal Ketchum, earning gold disc status for Hal and Mick. Mick has traveled his own musical journey from an early fascination with rock and roll to folk music to becoming one of the world's finest country singer-songwriters. Mr. Hanly has released several solo albums to date, and my guest today is still singing, writing, and performing. Well, welcome, Mick.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Craig. It's nice to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice of you to take a little time out of your schedule to meet with me and chat a little bit. Well, take us back to the beginning. You were born in Limerick.
Yeah, I was born in Limerick, and I suppose we'll concentrate on the musical influences I had rather than anything else. But I was born in Limerick, and I went to a Christian Brothers school. A very not a very nice education. I wasn't very happy in that, but I found refuge, I suppose, for myself in the guitar, and to get away from the fact that the school where I went to, the Christian Brothers, was very, very academically oriented, and I didn't fit in there, to be honest, and there was a lot of corporal punishment and so on, which I've reflected in my work over the years. But I didn't enjoy that spell. I did enjoy the sporting part of it, to be honest, but other than that, no. So when I picked up my first guitar, which was bought in a hardware store in Limerick for about £2 at the time, I think my father paid for it. It wasn't for me; it was for my brother Noel. And I was home from sick from school, probably bluffing, but I was there anyway at home, and I found the guitar behind the sofa in one of the rooms, and I picked it up and I fiddled with it for a couple of hours, and suddenly something clicked with me. I learned to play a song which was popular at the time in Ireland by a woman called Bridie Gallagher, and it was called The Boys from the County Armagh. So I learned to play that on the different strings, thinking that that was the way the guitar should be, but I never knew you had to tune it, so my learning went out the window when somebody said, well, your guitar isn't in tune at all. So The Boys from the County Armagh was set aside. But I grew up not knowing, and this is true, I grew up on the outskirts of the city of Limerick, not knowing that there was a traditional and folk music that I had no idea about at all. And when I left school, I went to work for 2 years in a place called the Electricity Supply Board in Galway. And I heard my first, I suppose you could say, folk music. I played in a bar for a while called the Golden Key Bar. And the only reason I picked it out one night coming home from work was I'd heard that Paul Simon had actually sang in there one night, That was the only reason that brought me in there. But in actual fact, there wasn't any music in it at all, apart from 7 dyed-in-the-wool alcoholics who kept the business going, And I asked Mrs. McInerney, would she have me sing a song, and would she have me down, have music in the bar? And she said, I don't know, any good? I said, well, I can play the guitar and so on. I don't know if she knew what a guitar was, to be honest with you. But I sang. I said, she said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I sing Paul Simon and James Taylor, and I do Beatles songs." And she hadn't a notion of what she thought I was going to come in and play the banjo and play tunes. So the boys didn't want. The only reason they drank in her bar was the fact that it was lovely and quiet. And when they saw me coming through with my guitar, they literally went pale. But what happened was the lads slipped out when in fact the word got out that I could play the guitar, and it was up in the Golden Key Bar, and the students came in and packed the place. But of course they bought no drink. So Mrs. McInerney, her loyal custom, had deserted her because of my presence. So that was the first inkling I got from. They brought in mandolins and things like that, and I heard inklings of folk music, and I was very gone on the American Woody Guthrie and Leadbelly and all of those. I was aware of those. I was aware of them, and I loved the way they wrote songs. I love Woody Guthrie, the way he wrote about the Grand Coulee Dam and all of that stuff, and the mining disasters. And they fascinated me.
Were you hearing any of their music like on Radio Luxembourg or anything
No,
like?
no, no,
No.
not at all. No, on Luxembourg, I didn't listen to. Oh yeah, Luxembourg was the station where they played pop music, and they played a lot of the Rolling Stones and the Beatles. That's where I first heard the Beatles and the Rolling Stones, and I was blown away by that. So, still unaware that there was traditional music. I went for that, and I mean, the Beatles' music became fascinating to me. They seemed to progress from simple "Love, Love Me Do" ditties to real songs like Penny Lane and stuff like that. And so I realized, yeah, these guys tell stories, and the chording is interesting, etc. So that was like, I mean, I played in a hotel then for a couple of years with the three piece, but we did nothing of interest. And then I moved to Dublin, and I heard my first traditional music. And luck would have it that I was playing in Trinity College, in the folk club in Trinity College one night, and Andy Irvine and Donal Lunny were there. So they heard me and asked me to open for them in the first Planxty tour of Ireland. So did I fall on my feet? I sure did. And through that then I got to know certain people in the trad area, and Mihal being. Then I heard the band called Scarabray. I went to see the Chieftains, and Scarabray were opening for them, and I saw the guitar being used for the first time in a way that opened the door for me as a folk singer to actually get into Irish music. So that's where I kicked off, and I loved. Myself and Mihal made one record, and then we headed for France. The record came out and went down the toilet as far as we could see. There was nothing happened. But it became a very well-known record among folkies. It really did.
You're
And
talking about you're talking about
became
Celtic folkweave.
Celtic
Celtic.
folkweave, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's been re-released, believe it or not, by Universal Records 50 years later as a kind of a piece, that's very well thought of as an album. Now, I had no idea at all about folk music or traditional music until I met Mihal. But I could speak Irish a bit from school. So we made this album, which people love. But like I was a real greenhorn at that time, I didn't know a thing about it. But I did my best, and I contributed to the album, and it sounds okay. But Mihal was the guiding light.
Was the guy like? Well, you had a couple of three members from Planxty that helped you in the recording as well.
Absolutely, we had the best players in the country playing with us. I wasn't aware of I was aware of Planxty, all right, but I wasn't aware of Matt Malloy and people like that, or Liam. Well, Willie, or not Willie Brown. I can't remember his name now. Brown, anyways. His second name. He was a piper. In fact, he didn't play on that. He played on another album I made my own solo album. But yeah, that brought me into that milieu, and that's where I loved to be. I felt this was the place. So over the next couple of years, then I when well, like, as I say, myself and Micheál, I went back to France because there was no work for myself and Micheál in Ireland at the time, no real work. Once Planxty did their best to keep us in money, but it wasn't feasible. We were opening for Planxty, but there wasn't enough work. When Planxty stopped touring, well, we were looking at the walls basically. So we split up. I went back to France for 2 years, and Micheál stayed and formed the Bothy Band, which is a very seminal band in the emergence of the revival of Irish music. So yeah, I was on the periphery all the time of the development, and I really enjoyed that. I had a great time doing that.
Going back a little bit to a couple of the singles that you guys put out before the album,
Mm.
uh, in particular, The Hills of Grainmore.
Uh-huh.
Is one of my favorites.
Really?
That's a traditional folk tune, right?
Yes.
Yeah. There's
Uh,
been other versions called The Hills of Greenmore, I've noticed,
yeah.
but I have to say I favor your version.
Really.
Yeah,
Well, I didn't, like, as I say, my parents or anyone like that didn't play traditional music, so I got that from a book by a singer, songwriter, a singer, a collector, sorry, called Robin Morton from the north of Ireland, and that's a Northern Ireland song. The Grainmore hills are up around Cady in, I'm not sure of the county, but it's up in the north anyway.
yeah,
But it's a
I
nice
like
song,
that.
isn't it? Yeah,
It is. I like
yeah.
that. It has like 10 verses. I like songs like that that have that go
Oh,
all.
you've come to the right place, Greg. I have loads of songs that have 10 verses.
The never ending song.
I do. I love those two. I really do.
Tell a
Yeah.
nice story. Well, I like folk music in particular. I mean, from all countries, you find out how similar it really is when you get
Mm.
down to the roots. We think it's all so different, but it's really not. It's
No, and if you go to the unaccompanied singing, you'll
right.
find remarkable resemblances in the way
Yeah,
people sing their native songs.
yeah. And it just goes to show that we're all really unified. We're all,
Mm.
you know, come from the same source. From other
Oh, I
nations.
think so. Yeah, like, I mean, people had no radios, no anything, and they had songs with stories of their tragedies. Like On the Cone, for example, would have been a story about a boat that set out and a sheep put his foot through one of the canvas of the curragh and they were all drowned. That kind of tragedy. And
Right.
it's a beautiful song called Anacone. And that's the Irish for it. But those kind of things, they marked all of those events with song or
Yeah.
poems or whatever. That's how they kept their history alive.
And like you said, there's that commonality of the tragedy throughout most of the folk song.
Mm,
A couple of the tracks off of that album, off of Celtic Folkweave, the Bold Princess Royal. That's
mm,
that's one that I go back and listen to. I like
mm.
that one. And then the Banks of Claudy, which has been covered many, many, many times. But
Yeah.
again, I like your version. I like what you did.
Oh, I think Micheál sings that beautifully, and
Yeah,
his guitar playing on it is lovely. I
right.
mean, he's so delicate. He was so delicate. Unfortunately, he's died. He
Yes,
died about 10 years ago now, and his playing was unique, and his singing, the way he sang, had a beautiful tone to it, and a beautiful. He was a gifted musician, and the arrangements he put to these things were gorgeous. Really lovely.
yes, they were. And you're harmonizing the two of you too on the song.
Yeah. Well, we had a strange kind of thing. I had bought. There was a band called. Let's see now what their names are because I'd like to remember them. The was it the Rooftop Singers brought out a song called "Walk Right In,
Yes,
Sit
it is.
Right Down,
Top Singer.
Baby Let You." That was the first time I heard a 12-string guitar on the
Okay.
radio, and I just, wow! I said to my father, "I'm going to get a 12-string guitar." On the one song, and 12-string guitars are a nuisance. They really are. You want to be tuning and tuning and tuning. Anyway, I went out and I bought this 12-string guitar for 63 guineas. And I had to ask my father, would he, could I spend my pocket money on it and all that? And it was 63 guineas at the time, and it came down on the train from Dublin. And I had a beautiful guitar, no case. It came came in a cardboard box. And, but I still have it. It's a magnificent instrument, and that would have been about 65, 66. And it struck me immediately the difference in having an instrument as opposed to a toy. Do you know what I mean? Like the other cheap guitars, the, the instrument was suddenly easy to play. So I just took six strings off it and played it as a six string for most of my career. And then I found another one, a second-hand one in a store, and I said, Micheál, there's one of these in Walton's store in Dublin, and we coloured that and we got that done. So it was in bad shape, but he bought it for 12 quid and got it done. And so we were playing two 12-string guitars, which are really big-bodied, as six strings.
Yeah.
And then I played in an open G and he played in an open D. So you got this kind of orchestral effect almost for the two guitars. Like, I mean, it was a big sound for the time, and it was different. We were different, we were different. We're ahead of our time, I suppose.
Yes, I think you could say that. Very, very true. In fact, what was one of the songs I was looking here real quick? The instrumental
The Breton
from,
Dances.
that's another one.
Oh, yeah, they're Breton tunes.
Here's the one from that same album. Yes, that's the one. Yeah, that's the one.
Dum da da dee da dum dum dum, la la da dee da diddle da da dum. That was fascinating to us when we saw it for the first time. The Breton dances, like they go around in a kind of a circle. Everyone links arms and they all dance. And it's so civilized because you don't have to march over and ask a girl for a dance. You just split the ring and walk in, insert yourself, and off you go. So I thought it was fantastic, very civilized, And everyone would be out of their heads on mead or whatever shoeshen they drank.
Is that right?
Yeah, shoeshen. It made you fall back on your head, back on your pole, like that. You
like
never
that.
fell forward. You fell bump.
Backwards.
So you wanted to be that's why they drank it, was in a field. All the festivals had to be in a field. So dangerous, Oh, we had great times.
Make sure there's some soft ground behind you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it worked. It
And it
seemed to
worked.
work, but
Well, we'll talk a little bit about leading up to your first solo album. What did you do next?
I did
After
A Kiss in the Morning Early was an album I recorded for Mulligan Records, which was a new label devoted to, which had a great CV. I mean, it built up a great CV of Paul Brady, Andy Irvine and Paul Brady, Kevin Burke, the Bothy Band. I mean, there was colossal, really good Irish music on that label. And then it all got sold, and it was terrible. I mean, nobody got really paid well for their albums or anything like that. It was terrible. Anyway, but that's beside the point. The music got done,
Yeah, that's the Kiss in the Morning Early. I like the title. And who all played on that album? Do you remember?
Who played on it? Well, I rounded up the same gang. There was Donal, Trina and Egonal played on it, I think. There was God, I'm trying to think. I have the album outside, and let's see who else played on it. Rick Epping from America played on it. He played the harmonica. Liam, wait a minute, no. Yeah, Peter Brown, the piper, played on it. Triana, Donal. So there was it was like the hot band for Lemmy Lou Harris. There was the same bunch of people that were getting all the album work. They were hot at the time. And they were great. So yeah, and Andy played on it. He played harmonica and things like that on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the title track is wonderful. I think one of your best, and also Farewell, Dearest Nancy, another one that
Oh, that's a lovely song.
yeah,
Tis, yeah. God, I haven't sung that for years. I must dig that out. That's a beautiful song.
yeah,
It's a lovely air. So,
right.
and that's my own air. That's not a traditional air, but it's in the style of a traditional air. And the reason I didn't have, I got all of the songs were based on songs I found in a book written by or collected. There was a collection of songs by Colin McLaughlin, and he had two books. One was the first collection, and I picked songs from the second collection because the first collection had been used up by the Clancy brothers and all of those lads. It was a really superb piece of collecting. There were all these songs like Johnson's Motor Car. All of those songs were in the first collection, but the second collection was kind of neglected. So that's where Kiss in the Morning Early came from. What did you say the last one was there again?
Oh,
Farewell,
Farewell.
dearest Nancy. And as I roved out one morning, farewell. The Verdant Braes of Screen, I think, was on it.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, there was an instrumental on it, which was quite nice. In two versions of the same tune, and there were Paddy Glacken and other people were on that. Noel Hill and Tony Lennon, I think, were on it as well. Yeah, they were that was a good collection, and people liked that album.
yeah.
Um, you know, but they never came out on CD, and I don't know where the tapes are. They're gone.
Really?
And I'd bring them out myself if I could find the tapes, but I
That would,
can't. I couldn't
yeah,
get
that
them
would,
back.
if you could find somehow do some research and locate those and remaster those, yeah, that would be something.
I
If
would, yeah, but like
yeah,
I've tried, and
yeah,
I've been very unsuccessful. The people that managed um, Mulligan Records suddenly just sold the thing off, and it eventually ended up over in America, so far as I know.
yeah.
Alison Brown, I think, has the collection now. I'm not sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like you said, I mean, it's got really good reviews and real right up there with Celtic Folkways, as far as the ratings that I've seen and reviews I've seen on that. So
Mm, mm.
going right on the heels of that. Um, After Planxty called it a day, you and Andy Irvine started playing and touring quite a bit
We did,
during
yeah,
time.
we
Yeah,
did.
yeah. Any memorable shows?
Yes, well, we did two tours with the Irish Folk Festival tour,
Okay.
which was really the first one we did was superb. We had Jay Donnan, the band Jay Donnan, Dolores Keane and John Faulkner,
Right.
uh, Noel Hill and Tony Lennon, and Michael Russell. There's a great lineup in it. A really good show, but it went on a bit long. But that was par for the course. But yeah, myself and Andy kind of clicked well. We played well together, but we never recorded anything, which was a shame. But the folk albums were recorded, and there's some good tracks from that. I came across a track there a couple of years ago, and I thought, geez, that's really good, and it was called John Barleycorn. It must have been my
Yeah.
song because I must have got it from I'd say I might have got it from the Johnsons. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we did a version of it, but it's the playing is really tight on it, and for the time it was really there. It was good. Has great energy, and
Right.
Andy's harmony singing is superb.
Right. Right. Well,
Yeah.
let me ask you this before the next time, as I went over Blackwater. What is Blackwater? Where is Blackwater?
I don't know. Well,
Okay.
there's a Blackwater River in Cork,
Uh-huh.
but the reason I recorded that was my grandmother. I remember my grandmother singing it to me. That
Okay.
as I went over Blackwater, Blackwater went over me. I met two little blackbirds sitting on a tree. One called me a robber, and the other one called me a thief. I took out my little black thorn stick and I hit him across the cheek, and that was all she had, right?
Okay.
And I thought it was beautiful. And the actual, and then she used to follow that with a tune called "There, where are you going, pretty bird? Where are you going, pretty bird? I have two little legs, I have two little legs." And she used to sing to me on her when I was on her lap. And I remember those two tunes very well, but they're not connected. Only
Right.
in my mind because she sang them one after the other to me,
Uh,
And
okay.
she was I was very fond of her, and she used to sing those songs with an innocence that I can only, that you wouldn't find anymore now.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting because I wonder if that's the same Blackwater as the Bert Jansch song, Blackwater's Side.
It
I wonder
doesn't
if that,
sound very like it. It
yeah.
doesn't
I mean,
sound
not
very.
not the same song, but I wonder if it's referring to the same Blackwater. Oh, I wonder.
I
Uh,
doubt it. I
okay.
honestly doubt it, to be honest, because my grandmother would never have had access to listening to anything like that.
Okay.
She got that from somewhere else, from her own community in Limerick. She never left Limerick. I mean, she never traveled anywhere. Where would she get it? She would have
Right.
got it from other singers in Limerick, maybe, but I don't know. I look,
Maybe
it's very hard
maybe
to tell.
maybe Birch borrowed it. Bert borrowed it from the
Could
Irish,
be, yeah.
the other way around.
Well, the, like there was an amazing uh, back and forth thing going on between Ireland and England and Scotland. And the Scotland Ireland thing was mostly based in Donegal because all the Donegal boys went across to pick potatoes in Scotland, and they would come back with a bunch of tunes from there, and they'd bring over their own tunes to Scotland, and they all became mixed up in this wonderful potpourri, and you got these beautiful, like Donegal melodies. To me, are the most beautiful of all the Irish melodies. I love them. I really do love them.
Right. They really touch your heart. I think they do. They speak to your spirit and your soul. Well,
Well, did you ever hear the Scarra Bray album? That's an album that you should seek out.
okay,
It's all in Irish.
okay,
That's
okay,
Micheál's first recording with his two sisters.
okay. I tell you what. After this interview,
Mm,
you just message me in Facebook or whatever. Uh, that, and I will. I will definitely check it out.
mm. Oh, I'd say you'd love it. I'd say you'd love it. The melodies and tunes, and they were school children at the time when they recorded it. And
Right.
they
Right.
recorded it. Micheál told me they recorded in an afternoon, the whole thing.
Wow. Well,
Yeah,
on the second solo, as I went over Blackwater, did you have the same supporting band playing on that one
pretty
as your
much.
first? Pretty
I
much.
think so. Yeah, I think so. Well, I doubled up my guitar playing as well a lot on things, and played harmony to my own guitar. And Donal would always step in and do something. Andy played on a few things, I think anyway. Declan Sinnott played slide electric guitar, which was very rare on anything at that time. There wouldn't been anybody playing slide guitar.
Right.
Uh,
Well, I didn't ask you about this, but the recording sessions, how did they typically go? Was it done live, or were there some
well, they
open?
had to be live. They
Yeah.
had to be live. You had to get a decent live take because we were talking about 2-inch tape at that time, and splicing and all of that stuff had to be done. There was no such thing as going back and well, I mean, if you didn't get it with one or two takes, you had to go and move, do something else, and come back to it, that kind of way. But
All right.
then you mightn't get the musician the following day. You'd be gone somewhere else.
Yeah,
So
you're
it
right.
was a pressurized kind of thing. But it was like, I mean, we were used to playing live. Myself and Michal were very used to playing live.
Yeah.
And, and you get competent enough to be able to say, well, look, we'll go for it and see. We've done it several times on the stage. Why can't we do it here?
Yeah. Well, any memorable live gigs that you and Mihal played that you like to mention?
I'm sure there were many of them, to be quite honest, but I can't pin. Oh yeah, we went to France, as I was telling you that, and we did quite well, mostly around Brittany, which was in a big revival thing as well with music. Alan Stivell was very popular, and Malicorne from the south of France. They were a great band.
Yeah, I like Malik.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, tell
But
for viewers that are not familiar geographically, tell where Brittany is, what part of France.
it's the very tip. It's like next door to Normandy, and it's that little piece that juts out on the top of France on the west side, right? And all around that coastline, we'll say from Saint-Malo down and back again to Nantes. That would be Brittany. Um, and the tradition is very much alive and well. And you know what they have there as well is pipe bands. They have an awful lot. Every reasonable sized town has a pipe band, and they mix the pipes with a thing called a biniou cause, which is one of the loudest instruments I've ever heard in my life. They blow the ears off you, and they blow it through a reed, just like the pipes, but they blow it with their mouth. So they're incredible, hard things to play. I tried one, but I never got a note out of it ever.
you you have to have your earplugs in when you play it.
Oh, stop. And there'd be
Well,
drumming and all that stuff as well. No, they were very powerful. Those Breton pipe bands were very powerful. Um, yeah, I was going to tell you about a gig.
yeah,
We went down when we went to meet Planxty when they came over to Brittany. They were doing a couple of gigs and one in Paris, and then they were doing a festival called the Festival de Cartalgue. And uh, our manager at the time was Des Kelly, and he was Planxty's manager as well. And he said, "Why don't you come down to Cartalgue with us?" And we said, "Okay, I don't know." So he went and asked the organizer. He said, "Well, these two guys are really good. You should put them on." So we weren't on the bill or anything, but we went down and blew the place. It was really great. That one
no
stuck
doubt.
in my mind, and we ended up on the album.
Is that right? Is that right?
Yeah, yeah,
You
we were
guys,
never on the poster, but we were on the album.
you guys went down the storm, as
We
they
did,
say.
yeah, we did went down the song. And the album, when this thing has been remastered, and they found the actual master tapes in France.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. It sold quite well in France. Not that we ever got paid for any of it, but it sold well in France, and that's why they found the tapes there. They had re-recorded it there, or republished it there.
Yeah, that's the typical story. The artist doesn't get compensated. uh,
Don't talk
well,
to me.
yeah, we won't go into that. Um, after after your as I went over Blackwater, how long was it before you got wind of Christy Moore leaving Moving Hearts?
Well, I used to go out and open for Moving Hearts. When they gave me the word that Christy was leaving, I said, "Look, I'll go on the road with you and open for the band." And that's I kind of through osmosis, like picked up the repertoire a bit and whatever. But the band were determined not to actually repeat Christy's repertoire, and so we tried to start new stuff. And the band had covered one of my songs called "All I Remember," and we did that, but I didn't like the version, so that got dumped. I had a few more songs, and I had we tried to work out versions, but I wasn't functioning very well at the time. I was drinking too much and not really on top of my game. And I didn't have a real clear vision of what I wanted, and to lead a band of the power of Moving Hearts, you want to be on your on the case, you know, and I wasn't on the case. I wasn't able for it at all in terms of my musical abilities weren't up to it, you
Right.
know. So I bowed out after 14 months. I said, look, I have to go back and sort my own life out and see, can I pick up the pieces, you know. It took me ages, to be honest with you, to do that. But my marriage, my first marriage was falling apart, and that kind of didn't help. And I had a child who came to live with me, Jessica. She's now 40, I think, or somewhere around that figure. And yeah, that was I set my agenda then to take writing in some way seriously. That's what I did because I felt I needed to find a way of expressing myself. I'd gotten very political before I joined Moving Hearts. I'd gotten more, and so all my gig was written about politics, the men on the blanket. Uh, I wrote songs about, yeah, the troubles in the north were figured, you know, and the abuse of the working man. All of that I got that off my chest, but it wasn't really good for gigs because I wasn't able, like Christy was well able to mix the funny side of his character with the deeply committed political side of his character. I didn't seem to be able to do that. So my gig became a nail you to the wall kind of gig, you know. You
Oh,
were after listening to the bad news on the telly, next thing go to a Mick Hanly gig and you're kind of floored completely. So I had to think about how to do this, you know, how to entertain and actually write my own songs. And I thought, well, I can't go sorting out the affairs of the world without sorting out what's going on in here first. And there was a lot going on, you know, and I had to figure that out. And over the next, I actually had a country phase, a kind of, I always said, look, these songs really appeal to me because they're lovely and simple. And
right.
there's a great instruction there. Willie Nelson's brevity, uh, Chris Christopherson's storytelling, you know, Dolly Parton's crispness in her writing was just so beautiful. I loved it. The Coat of Many Colors. I loved those songs. So I was figuring if I can pick up how do you write a very simple song and about being troubled or in love or any of the rest of that. So that took up my next couple of years. I was at that. But I still felt this is not the Mick Hanley I want to portray because that's a derivative thing from another country. I wanted to be Irish and talk about hurling and all that kind of, you know, I wanted to do those kind of things and reflect where I was here, not over in Nashville. I was here, and
Right.
that's what I wanted to reflect. So that took an age to sort that out.
Well, you needed to find your own voice. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And I wanted to say a segue into that. I wanted to mention that your transition from folk music into country, it's pretty seamless from what I've heard.
Well,
You
yeah.
did. I mean, I'm sure you've got different stories, but from what I've heard of your recorded material, you do a great job. And you know, it just comes across real well. So
Uh-huh. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
yeah,
I had very misgivings, great misgivings about that. I didn't feel, I felt, and I'm very proud of Past the Point of Rescue, for example, that Hal covered, and I couldn't believe that it got the attention it did get. But I realized it is a good song and is wearing the ears really well. But I didn't think it fitted the country genre, and I never recorded it as a country song. I recorded it as a kind of a J.J. Caylee kind of feel.
right, right.
And I'll send you my actual recording of it, which you'd be interested in, I'd say. And it's quite different because Hal got put a difference. And Rooney said that, Jim Rooney, do you know Jim Rooney from Nashville?
Yes.
Jim said to me, look at Mick, don't be sending us country songs. Send us your own songs and we'll make country songs of them, you
I
know. And he was
understand.
dead right, you know. He was dead right.
Well, I like what always caught my attention about the song is the guitar in it. And Hal's
Well,
version.
that's
Yeah.
Chris Loisinger. You
Okay.
know, yeah, that's the guitar player that
Yeah. Okay.
Alan Reynolds employed. He plays with Garth Brooks still. He's still going strong. I see his Facebook thing on all the time. But Chris came up with a different riff, and
Right.
it really good. But the version we did, I feel the riff we had is just as good.
This is good. I want to hear that.
Really, I think so. I think
Yeah,
so.
I want to hear that. It almost goes back a little bit to that guitar on Hal's version, a little bit to that Bakersfield sound, the Buck Owens.
Really? Oh my
Yeah,
God. Yeah. Yeah, I
that's what
suppose.
that's what I hear,
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
the nice guitar, riff on that. So
Yeah.
there
Guitars,
you
Cadillacs, and hillbilly music.
yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I think, again, it's all kind of connected. I think a lot of the country music has its roots in folk,
Yeah. Yeah.
of
I
course.
agree with you totally. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can see that, being something that would be tapped into. We'll talk about who made up Rusty Old Halo.
Yeah, well, the drummer from Moving Hearts? Moving Hearts were broken up by the time I put Rusty Old Halo together, and I didn't mean it to be a country band, but I got a fiddle player, and that put the country feel to it,
Yeah.
more than anything. But we played away, and we were we were we were kind of successful in Dublin, and we thought then because of that. We were known all over the country. Sure, nobody knew the hell who we were down the country. So we died a death everywhere we went. But we had great sport, a lot of fun. We used to do a residency in a place called the Harcourt Hotel in Dublin, and it used to be stuffed out every Tuesday night, and we had great sport in that. But yeah, but that was just another phase, as it were. Um, yeah, that it was an interesting phase. The people that were in it wouldn't have been very well known. One of them didn't stay with the music business at all. His name was Peter Condell, and a beautiful guitar player he was, but he lost faith in the music business when I folded the band, and he went back to play with a different band, and they folded, and he said, I'm done."
Yeah.
So he's now a tour guide in Dublin.
Okay.
The bass player has died. Pat Carey was his name. We had great guests, like we had Artie McLean playing steel guitar sometimes, Earl Walsh. I don't. Mary Coughlin, I think, sang on it, and there was lots of people came and went, and we had. I can only describe it as fun. We had great fun, and the place was a death trap, as all these great venues are. You couldn't get out of the place if someone struck a match. I'll tell you, it was all over.
Oh no.
Yeah,
You got some stories there.
yeah.
Well, we mentioned, of course, Hal's version of Pass the Point Rescue. How did you feel about Mary Black's version?
Well, Mary left out a verse, you know that. I don't know. I was puzzled by that. Hal recorded the three verses, and I was much happier. That my own version was long-winded. I had a 2-minute intro in, being very arty, and because we got this great kind of a groove going, and I had a 2-minute outro. So the radio never bothered their arse playing it because they didn't know where it started or where it finished. So my version didn't work on radio at all. But Mary's did, and it became a kind of radio hit in Ireland, from Mary's version did. But she's a beautiful singer, really good singer, Mary was, And I thought that was the life of the song, and I was really happy, that was it. And then I went to Boston to do a charity gig. So I suppose it comes back, doesn't it? I did a charity gig in Boston, and they brought me over for a week, and my gig was on the first night of the when we landed. So I was sitting there, and I went to see a hurling match the following day in Boston, and it was the most dangerous thing I've ever seen in my life. And it was Nicky English from Tipperary had a team, and the immigrants had a team, and they were playing on a plastic pitch, and the sliotar was coming up just eye height, and people pulled on the sliotar, all the time. I mean, do you ever see hurling?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh wow, it's like it's brilliant game. I love it. I was at a great match last night, but the thing was so dangerous with that kind of bounce on the ball and people were pulling on it. Anyway, that's beside the point. But I said to myself, geez, I've never been to Nashville. I wonder what it's like. So I said I'd go down for a visit, and I rang. The only person I knew that had been in Nashville was a guy called Philip Donnelly. He played in a lot of Nancy Griffith's albums, and Jim Rooney, a good friend of Jim Rooney's. So he put me in touch with Jim, and I rang Jim from Boston, and I said, would it be possible to come down? And he said, why not? Of course, I'll collect you at the airport. And he took me he collected me at the airport, and we drove straight to a place called Brown's Diner in Nashville. And the first person I met was Phil Everly. Don Everly, sorry.
Yeah, Everly
Don
Brothers.
Everly.
Oh,
What? I
wow.
was shaking. I mean, Don Everly was part of my youth.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yes. Exactly. To see you like one of your idols like that.
Oh man, it was just such a. I have a story about that which is really worth telling. It's like I was trying to stay off the drink at the time, and I was off it for several weeks, and I'd managed to go through the Boston bit of it with no jar. But I was in the thing, and when you're on the dry, I don't drink anymore now. But back then, when you're on the dry, you're anxious that people won't think you're mean, so that you go rushing up to the bar and say, "How are you all having?" And you sit there with your water and all the rest of it, but you don't have a guilty conscience. You know what I mean? So I went to the bar straight away, and I said to Don, "What would you like?" And he said, "A beer by the bottle," and. And Becky, his girlfriend, was there, and she was having a Bud Light, and Jim was having something else. But they were all drinking. And I said to your man, "Will you give us 2 Bud Lights and another a bottle of draft or whatever it was, or a glass of draft? And would you give me a glass of sparkling water?"
Yeah.
So he went off, and he came back, and he said, I said, "Did you hear my order?" And he said, "Of course I did." "And you want water? We don't serve water here." And then he shouted across at Rooney, "Did you say this guy was Irish? He wants water." Oh God. I said, "Give me a beer for Christ's sake, and we get out of this situation straight away." So all my resolutions had gone down the tubes. I couldn't bear it. I was so embarrassed, it was terrible. Anyway, I had a great time. And the funny thing was, he brought me over he was recording Hal's first album with Curb. And he brought me over to Jack's Tracks. And I met Hal's girlfriend. I didn't know she was his girlfriend now, in the place. And I said, "Look, here's an album I just recorded, and I'll leave it with you. I don't know whether." I didn't know the protocol. You're not supposed to do that. You had to I saw a guy being run out of the place one day when he came in with a tape. Anyway, I had no idea about that. So I said, there's an album. I recommended a song, but it wasn't Past the Point of Rescue. I didn't think Past the Point of Rescue was a country song at all. And when Hal heard it, the two of them were courting, so he must have heard it under nice circumstances, I guess. And he tried it out and demoed it, and next thing they made it the title track, which is,
Yeah.
hey, talk about luck, But it's luck, Greg. It's nothing to do with talent. That song could have sat there after Mary's version forever.
Yeah. Right.
And I'd be dead now.
Yeah. Oh, don't say that. Don't say that.
I would have had no way of earning money. Anyway, yeah, that's the truth.
luck. I mean, yeah, luck and timing has a whole lot to do with.
Luck has 90% to do with it. Honestly, the talent is one thing, and you have to have a good song, you have to have this and that and the other, but luck is. I might never have gone down to Nashville You
right.
know, I might have come straight home with the lads, and that would never have reached Alan Reynolds's desk or
See,
anyone.
see there you go. Destiny.
Yeah.
You were meant to be there. There you go. That's right.
Well, I like to think that I did
Yeah.
have a good song, and I still love to sing it simply because I think it's very well written, and I think the lines are very good in it.
Yes,
They're fresh, and they retain a freshness that many songs don't. You know.
yes, you're right about that. Well, you mentioned a little bit earlier Dolores Keane. I really enjoy your duet with her, My Love is
Yes,
in America.
so do I.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. Dolores, I was only over there 2 months ago,
Uh-huh.
doing a live television thing with her. She's been through the wars, really, you know, with all sorts of. She had a lot of drink problems and things, but she's back to her brilliant self. And she's not as powerful as she was able to sing, but the sound of her lovely voice is still there. It's still there. It's lovely, and she's in good form. She's holding herself together, and we did My Love Is in America on the show. So
Okay, good, good.
yeah, yeah, she's a lovely woman. I'm very fond of her, but I like due to my own difficulties, I avoid people that are in the horrors with drink. I can't handle it. You know, I really can't.
Right, right.
So yeah, but it was lovely to see her again and to share the singing and the laughs and whatever. You know, she's great. She's a great woman. You know, she
Yeah.
is.
Well, you mentioned Mary Black doing the version of that song, Past the Point. I I equate it a little bit. I think it's the subject matter and the mood of the song, My Love in America, to one of Mary Black's Ellis Island. Uh, I love that song.
Yeah.
One of my favorite all time favorite songs. So in a way, I kind of hear that. I hear in both songs similarities. Uh,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. Well, it's an immigration song.
right.
What I was trying to come up with was just to give that the woman's point of view about man being gone for 9 months, you know, that kind of thing, and having to in a small town like we'll say Thomastown here, people talk about, well, she's young and she's on the loose and all of that stuff or whatever. And it's not nice. It's a tough one to carry, you know. It's a tough one to carry when your husband is away that long. When they used to have to go to England and we'll say work and come home for a month of Christmas or whatever, even 2 weeks of Christmas, and that'll be it, you know, that kind of way. Yeah, it's a tough one. I was trying to get that across on it is a woman's song, really, you know.
Exactly. I mean, even in think about during wartime, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
over all the wars in history, all the wives that stayed at home, I
yeah,
mean, a lot of them had affairs or found someone else. I mean, it's really hard,
yeah. It's
being away
very
that
tough, very
yeah,
tough.
being
So yeah, and what were they going to do? You know, it's very hard to be
exactly
loyal and true.
faithful. You know, you don't know if they're when they're coming back and that good
Yeah,
stuff.
and they might
Well,
never come back.
there you
You
go.
know, that's the worst part.
Yeah. Well, sadly, Hal passed away in 2020.
Yeah,
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 I remember hearing that when that happened.
yeah. He. I don't know what was wrong with him, but he got dementia, and he wasn't really able to play. So his partner at the time, she she said, "Look at Hal, you've got to stop touring. You can't be going out doing, you know, um, presenting yourself like that because it's not fair on you, and it's not fair on the public either." So he did quit. But he got very big. You know, I don't know what was causing that. Maybe it was whatever medication they had him on. But yeah, it was sad. And I thought Hal's voice was angelic,
Yeah,
beautiful voice. I really love his voice. Um, yeah, I'm really gone on singers. Dolores, I think, was one of the best Irish lady singers around, without a
right.
doubt. There was something you can feel the the rocks of Connemara and the moss and the little rivers and all of that stuff. Every time she opens her mouth, it's incredible how how native she is and how earthy she is without
Right.
even trying. It's
Right.
there. It's
Yeah.
wonderful, you know. It's
Definitely.
really wonderful.
They just come. Yeah. That's
Yeah, she's
real
gorgeous.
talent. And someone like that's a real talent right there.
The songs that I write don't really, they're not, I never allow myself to think of radio when I'm actually sitting down to write anything, because if you did, your art becomes, or your thing becomes confined,
Yeah.
and it's dictated to by something outside what you want to do. So that's how I end up with 6 minute songs and 7 minute songs, which will never see the light of day on radio. But that's okay, you know. I mean, you can gig them and hope that
There you
people
go.
like
There you go.
that.
And I'm sure the audiences at your gigs enjoy the longer tracks too.
Well, I feel, to be honest, I think that's, if a song is going to be 10 verses long, it has to be 10 verses long. If you're a decent writer and you're thinking about what you're doing, like, you're going to finish it in six if you're conscious of something else. But if you want to tell the story as concisely as you can, but it does take 10 verses, then that's the way you're going to write it. Otherwise, you go down a commercial route, which is very formulaic, and it smacks of that when it's finished. No matter how good the song is, it takes a really good song to get out of something like you've heard before. And it was all, I mean, you know, the way it was all dictated by the actual length of a single, the 45. You know,
Right.
that was what made songs become short. Like
Yeah.
when people sang for each other in their homes, and that's not too long ago. Um, they didn't know how long the songs were. They just had to tell the story, and that was it.
Right. And I think that in hand led to the short attention span for most people. I think that started a long time ago, and then people
Yeah,
wanted immediate gratification, and all that kind of just started steamrolling,
yeah,
over
yeah,
over
yeah.
the years. And it takes that's why with these interviews, they're not short 30-minute jobs. It's more of
I
a
know.
bio, more of a
Yeah, yeah.
bio. And so not everybody's going to be wanting to sit down and look
Yeah,
with that short
like, I
attention
don't think
span.
so, unless they think you have something interesting to say.
There you
So
go.
I hope that, the answers
There
I'm
you,
giving you are interesting enough.
well, they are, and you'll be surprised at the
Mm.
reactions and the comments. And people that'll come out of the woodwork a lot of times, that you didn't even know were there, you know.
Yeah, well, that happens, that's for sure.
That's right. Well, let me ask you if you want to talk a little bit about your autobiography, "Wish Me Well,"
Yes.
from back in 2005.
Mm.
If you want to say what happened in Vegas stays in Vegas, that's fine. You don't have to. But any self-discovery or awakenings or cathartic moments that happened
Oh,
in the life.
lots. Yeah, there was lots. Like, I'm actually reworking a song that I think I included in the autobiography, which is Shellakabuki Boy. And Shellakabuki is the name of a snail here in Kilkenny. Don't know
Oh
if you know that, right?
no.
That's so. My stepson Thomas, when I met him first, my wife Mary had three children when I met her. One, there were two girls and a boy, and the boy was about five, maybe four, and he used to play with garden snails. He loved putting them in a tin and bringing them up to the bedroom and all that stuff. And so I christened him the Shellakabuki Boy. And I'll make this as short as possible. But he went to school, obviously, and but he needed a lot of coaxing, and he did all his schooling. And by the time he left school, he was hanging around town and behaving as a typical teenager and getting a few drinks in and smoking a bit of weed or whatever it might have been. And he was getting to be a pain in the arse, to be honest with you. But we love him. We love him to death. Anyway, Yeah, he went over then to see his dad. His dad lived in Kentucky.
Okay.
He was a stud manager there, and he made Thomas go to work, and Thomas didn't want to go, but he was coming home from the burger joint where he worked one night, and he spotted a recruiting office, and the guy inside was really muscular and all of that stuff, So he went in, and your man had him in the palm of his hand after half an hour. And Thomas rang home, and he said, "Mum, this is my last call for the next 3 months. I'm going to a place called Paris Island." And we looked at each other and sort of said, "Jesus, does he know what he's letting himself in for?" And well, we thought as well as that, we thought, well, this will put a bit of order into his life a bit more, at least there'll be that.
Yeah.
And he might, come out of there and say, well, look, this is what I want to do, or I'll have a direction, and say, well, I don't ever want to do that again, or whatever. Anyway, so 6 months later, he did came through the process, which is grueling enough, I can tell you. I know all about that. He came through the process and became a Marine. He graduated as a Marine. They say graduate. It's nice, but there's something else involved there. Anyway, he graduated as a Marine, and 6 months later they flew into the towers.
Oh,
So Thomas, all of a sudden, was sent to Iraq. He'd never heard of Iraq, no more than any of the rest of us, or we wouldn't have paid it much attention. And he did 2 tours of duty in Iraq. And I can't imagine anyone going to Iraq and not coming back a changed person. When you're 18, he was 18 years. Half his company, the Bravo company he was a member of, were either killed or maimed. He came out intact, and his big problem was, why wasn't I killed? So that was Thomas's story, and I thought that had to be put into song. So I did a song called Shellacabookie Boy. I think that's a strong song, and I just resurrected it to do it again because I think it needs doing. Anyway, yeah, the whole thing about the young people they send out and their pure father, it hurts me. And that's not because he was our own, but all the worse because he was our own. But in general, people it's young people are sent out into these situations where they're terrified, absolutely terrified, and they'll shoot first because they're told to. If you don't shoot, that's that. If you don't shoot, you'll be shot. That kind of thing, and that they act on fear.
kill or be killed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Exactly.
it's a terrible thing. And Thomas came out of a very loving school and a loving parenting.
Yeah.
But you can't avoid being changed by that, because what they do is they strip away everything you have and then build you up into something else. And
My
that's not nice, what you're built up into.
my father, has passed on many years ago, but he was a Marine.
Yeah.
And very structured. It taught him a lot of discipline. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was a good dad. A little bit uptight, but he was in Korea. That's where he saw duty.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Korean. So yeah, but I can relate a little bit to that.
Yeah. Well, Thomas is a good dad. I can vouch for that. I've seen him in action here with his daughter, and he's very, very protective of her, and and all the rest of it. But I think it's tough. It's a tough thing to happen to you, to witness. Like, he was part of the Fallujah assault. That's all. That's as much as he doesn't talk about it at all. But that's what he was a part of, and he said, "Look at." One of us everyone took a turn to kick in a door, and it could be booby trapped.
Right. Yeah.
So you were screaming, next minute you were kicking in the door, and bang, your 2 legs were gone, or whatever it was. Shocking stuff. Shocking stuff.
Yes,
That's the way.
that whole, the post-traumatic syndrome and, like you say, the guilt. I don't know which is worse, really. You know,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
guilt, say, why wasn't it me? You know?
yeah. Oh, that's huge. It's
Yeah,
huge in the for people that have been in those situations.
exactly.
Huge. Yeah. And not just like, I mean, there was an accident here not far from us down in Cashel, and four young women were killed. They were going to a Deb's ball, and a lot of them were saying, "Oh, I wish it was me." Just,
Right.
instead of Julie or whatever it was.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they were.
We have tons of stories over here with the mass shooting. That
Oh yeah, I know that. Yeah,
it's, it's
it's
about.
horrific. It's horrific. Yeah.
I don't know if I don't see it getting any better. I don't know what's going to happen. But did you want to end on your latest album, Marathon? Talk a little bit about that.
If you wish, I'll look. I'll send you a copy of Marathon. I'm sorry I didn't actually. And you have what have you copies of? Have you a copy of Homeland?
No, I don't. No, I don't have a
Oh,
copy of
you love Homeland. Homeland is a good album. There's a lot of good songs on Homeland. And I'll send you Marathon, and I'll send you the Past the Point of Rescue song.
it. Okay.
And let's see what else I can send you other things. Like there's a clatter of albums there, but um, some are better than others. I got money to make the Homeland album. A guy said to me one night, "You saved my life," he said. I said, "What do you mean?" He was a promoter. He did the Celtic the Celtic woman. He was the organizer of all that, put it all together, and made a lot of money, and still does. But he's dead since. He was a lovely guy. Kavanagh is his name. But he said to me one night, I met him after a show. Owen, the bass player in the Celtic woman, said, "You must come on up and see that he's in Moving Hearts as well with myself." And he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, I'm actually, he said, "Are you recording anything?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to do 4 long songs," which I'd written 2 of them already. And he looked at me, with a real commercial eye, and he said, What are you doing 4 long songs for?" Because I said, "I want to. I like to do 4 long songs." "No," I said, you should make an album. And I said, "I don't have any money to make an album." He said, Look, leave that to me," just like that.
Yeah.
So he did. He gave me the money to make the album, and I could use the musicians I wanted, and I had great musicians. Like Donal was back in the job again, and he's like Donal's been involved in most of the stuff I've done. So he was back in the seat. Owen O'Neill, the bass player from Moving Hearts, was there. Mick McCauley, the accordion player, he plays with Solace in America, I think, and a lot of good players. Yeah, James Delaney, a great piano player. Ray Fian, who would have been in, he would have been in that band. What was it? Horselips. He plays with Horselips now.
Oh, horse lips. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they were a long, long time ago. And his brother Johnny Fian was the guitar player with them. So I love Ray's drumming.
Yeah.
Donal doesn't. And the unfortunate thing was Donal was producing, but I insisted on Ray. And I said, why don't you like him? And he said, well, Ray, you get him to do a certain thing, but he gets tired of doing it after a take.
Oh,
And if he'll go to something, he'll insert something new every time he does it. I said, well, look it won't affect the end product, will it?
yeah.
It does. That was the only thing Donal was cross about. I said, look, that's all right. We'll live with that. So it
Well,
was a pleasure to do it, and I think you'll enjoy it. I
okay.
really do. I think you'll enjoy that album.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, did someone turn the lights off behind you? It got really
Oh, it's
dark.
just getting dark.
Okay, it's just getting. I was like, okay,
And I'm
is
saving
somebody
on the electricity.
saving saving up the electricity? Yeah, I thought
I'm only
maybe
joking. I'm only joking.
somebody, yeah, somebody was giving you a hint. It's like, okay, we're turning everything off.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
You're
Yeah,
running
we're getting
along. You're
into
running.
nightfall now. Mind you, it's
Yeah,
beautiful blue sky out there. And
that's true. That's
still,
true. It is your nighttime. It is your nighttime. Well, good. I'm glad it's a nice sky tonight.
Oh, it's
Well,
gorgeous.
I just want to say thank you, Mick. It's been real enjoyable.
Thank you very
Uh,
much. Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I
yeah,
really did enjoy talking.
and
You brought me back, to things
there you go. See,
yeah,
a lot of people say like, well, what are you going to talk about? What do you want to? What kind of questions? This kind of stuff. But basically, like I mentioned a little bit ago, it's kind of a bio. Starting out early and going through your life as a result, as it lends to music. Of course, it has to
yeah.
affect
But
you.
there's a dozen anecdotes that slip in
Yeah,
as a
that's
and all that stuff.
the
It's
thing.
good.
And
Yeah,
everybody that does that is like, I probably shouldn't go off on this tangent. And I say, please do, please do.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Those are what's entertaining to the viewers. Think about it. If you're watching a video, you like to hear those interesting stories.
Well,
You
I'd love to
know,
see if Brown's Diner is still there. To be honest with you, I think it is
yeah, yeah, that would
in
be fun.
Nashville.
Yeah, it may be. It may be.
Yeah,
You're
I
right.
wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me because it had a big custom. None of them were drinking water, though. That's for sure. They
Yeah,
never
well,
changed their policy on that.
well, see, your reputation preceded you coming from
Oh, I'm afraid
Ireland.
it was mud.
Okay.
It was mud the minute I mentioned the word. Can I have a glass of water,
Right,
please?
right. Do they even have water in Ireland? It's like, I thought you had like beer
Yeah,
coming out of the tap,
yeah, 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 yeah,
That's
yeah.
funny. Oh, that's
Yeah,
funny.
there's no substitute for drink, for alcohol. There isn't. You go into a bar and you say, "What are we going to
Yeah.
have?" Christ.
Right,
A
right.
tomato juice.
Yeah, exactly.
Or,
Give me a short,
and coffee,
really
and you're
simple.
coffeeed out of it. Oh,
Right,
God.
exactly, exactly. All right.
Listen,
Yeah.
that have you enough there for you? Just would you say? Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, we do. We definitely do, Mick. Definitely.
fantastic. Okay,
And
and
I
so you can
will.
have a listen to the records. I'll get them off to you in the morning, well, tomorrow on Monday,
Okay,
and
no rush.
have a listen. And I hope you enjoyed them.
Yeah.
I'm raging. I'm nearly certain, unless now there was a good few people asked me to send them stuff. So maybe I just lost you in the pile. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I'll get cracking
Or
on that.
there's somebody at the post office that's listening to them. It's like, wow, look,
Yeah.
you should have seen what I got in the mail today.
Yeah,
These
yeah,
three
yeah,
three
yeah.
CDs. Yeah. No, but
There
yeah.
was someone sent me. I don't know if you've ever come across a girl. What's her name again? Oh, they're an American couple, and they're a beautiful. She's a beautiful singer.
Mhm.
They live in Texas,
Oh,
and she sent me a package. When she came here, I took them out to see stuff around Kilkenny. There's lovely old rock buildings to see and things like that, stone castles and God knows what. And there's a few secrets as well that people rarely visit, but I know about them. And uh, what was her name? Oh God, she sent me a disc, and I'm dying to listen to it. I haven't listened to it yet.
yeah.
But
You've been.
she sent me a package, right? And she sent me an email saying, "Look, Mick, there's an import duty on this. We couldn't do anything about it, etc." So I said, "No problem. Look, just send it on." And I went up and paid the import duty. And lo and behold, hadn't they stuck in a 20 bucks as well to cover the import duty?
Oh, okay.
Really? So I thought it was so touching. Sure, I said, look I'm not going to cash this. The next time I'm going to America, I'm buying the coffee out of the 20 bucks and we'll all tuck in.
There you go. Nice, nice one. Yeah. That's the thing when you just mentioned, I'll say one more thing about, the little secret places to go. When I go someplace new, especially abroad, I don't want to go on the typical tours. You know what I'm
Sure,
saying?
yeah, yeah.
I want to go see those kind of places. So it's good to know somebody.
It is, yeah. That will take you off the beaten trail a bit,
There
and
you
show
go.
you something, that's good. Yeah.
What I enjoy. So, and plus you don't get the crowds and all that kind of stuff either. So
Oh no, no, you have to beat down the nettles to get at things. I'll be sure.
right, right. All right. Well, thank you again, Mick. Again, I've really been rewarding. Doing these things really is.
Great,
And
I'm delighted.
I will I will send you over the link once I get it edited a little bit, and
Okay, okay.
and then you can post it on your social media,
Great
and
stuff.
yeah, and then see what kind of reaction we get. That's
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 good.
yeah. So
Okay. Listen, thanks very much. I appreciate it. And we'll
you're
talk
very,
again. All
you're
right.
very you're very welcome. Let's keep in touch, Mick. All right, and
Cheers.
all
Good
the
luck.
best to you. All
Good
right.
luck.